Joe Biden has officially announced forgiveness for student loan debt. Now, this has been a big campaign promise that he's finally coming through on. And so in today's video, we're going to talk about all the details of this, including how much money he's forgiven, who qualifies for this, and how this will affect the future of the markets and the economy as a whole. What's up, guys? It's James out on the Out-of-State Investor. And before I get started, do me a favor and support the channel by smashing that like button. And if you haven't already done so, definitely subscribe and hit that notification bell to watch more content like this. And with that said, let's jump into it. We've been waiting for months to see what Joe Biden will do regarding widespread student loan forgiveness. Now, we've seen him do on a much smaller scale regarding fraudulent student loans or maybe borrowers who have been tricked into student loans. But now, for the first time, we're finally hearing what he wants to do on a large scale. It's been officially announced that they're canceling up to $20,000 per student loan borrower, but it is a little bit more nuanced than that, so here's the complete details. For starters, this cancellation is geared towards those who have their student loans with the Department of Education. So essentially, this is for federal student loans. This is not for private student loans. That will cover about 92% of all student loans, covering over 43 million people. Now, in addition to the amount forgiven, they're also pushing back the start date of when they're going to continue with student loan payments back from August 31st all the way to December 31st at the very end of the year, which basically means you're going to get 4 more months without any interest on your student loans. So we got student loan payments set to resume back in January of 2023. And for those who want to qualify, you need to make less than $125,000. And that's as an individual taxpayer. So if you file single on your tax returns, you need to make less than $125,000. If you file married, filing jointly, then you're going to be looking at making less than $250,000 per year. Now, if you qualify based on those incomes, then you're going to fall into one of 2 categories. The first of which is if you got Pell Grants. Now, if you received Pell Grants, that was basically a type of grant targeted towards lower and lower middle class families. So if you receive that, you will qualify for up to $20,000 in student loan cancellation. But if you did not receive a Pell Grant, then you're looking at a cap of $10,000. The idea behind this is to provide more aid for those who are more in need. Essentially, those who received Pell Grants came from families for the most part who make less than $60,000 a year. In fact, 2/3 of Pell Grant recipients came from households who made less than $30,000 a year, but over 94% of those who received it, they came from families who made less than $60,000 a year. Now, one of the big questions many people have is, how do you apply for this student loan relief? Well, so far there's not been a lot of information regarding this, but what we do know is that the Department of Education have put systems together for at least certain individuals to have it automatically deducted. Now, this is going to be primarily for people that they already have on file, and again, they're going to have more information in the coming days and weeks ahead, but for now, what we know is for those who have all their information with the Department of Education, including things like their income levels to know that they can adequately qualify for this, those will be the type of people that will have it automatically deducted within probably a matter of months. Now, if that's not you and you don't have all your information with the Department of Education, they're going to have some sort of self-certifying application that you could fill out. And again, more information will be coming out on that in the weeks and months ahead. Another thing to keep in mind is that with the new balance going down, if you had $50,000 in debt and you qualify for $20,000 of cancellation, you may be sitting at a $30,000 balance. You have the ability to re-amortize your loan, which basically means you can lower your monthly payments drastically because you're spreading it out based on the loan amount being $30,000 now instead of $50,000. So that's another thing to consider. Now, with all that said, it is great on one hand that so many people are going to be experiencing relief, but it is going to come at the cost of the economy as a whole, as we're going to be feeding into more of this inflation. Essentially, every time we choose to print more money, it's going to create more inflation. And we already saw this many times with the stimulus packages that came out during the pandemic and the printing of money that took place, and it's caused a big part of this inflation that we're experiencing today. So right now, we're seeing a pretty unique circumstance circumstance because the Federal Reserve recently has been trying to fight inflation by hiking interest rates, by supposedly offloading their balance sheet, which that's a whole nother story we don't need to get into in today's video. But essentially, we're seeing the Federal Reserve trying to fight inflation, and now Joe Biden has now forgiven all this student loan debt, creating more stimulus, creating more inflation. So you have one person trying to fight inflation and another person feeding into inflation. We've been speculating for a while about how long the Fed plans to stay hawkish. That's just a term used to talk about being aggressive with their monetary policy, hiking interest rates the way they have been. We saw it in March, we saw it in May, June, and July. We plan to see it again in September. So now with the cancellation of student loan debt, we can only anticipate a longer road ahead because we know the Federal Reserve wants to stay aggressive until inflation hits levels of around 2%. That's their target goal. And now with this, by adding the stimulus of federal student loan cancellation, it's only creating a longer road ahead to get to those 2% levels, which means that we could be looking ahead in the near term at an economic recession, and it's only going to get worse than whatever it was going to be before. We've already seen the 10-year Treasury jump to over 3.1%, and the reason we care about the 10-year Treasury is because the 10-year Treasury plays a huge role in mortgage rates. If the 10-year Treasury goes up, it's very likely mortgage rates go up, and we've already seen that take place with mortgage rates jumping to over 5.8% now, which makes it more unaffordable for housing, causing more downward pressure on house prices. A quick interruption for today's video sponsor. Today's video sponsor is JSA Real Estate Consulting. This is my consulting business where I schedule consultation calls for those interested in starting in real estate investing or taking their real estate investing to the next level. If that's you and you're interested in exploring that, email me at theoutastateinvestor@gmail.com and we can schedule something that works best for you. So you can start to see how this already affects sectors like the housing market, but when you also start to factor in things like the Federal Reserve having a license to be even more aggressive now to make up for the additional inflation coming on so that they can finally hit their target rate of 2%, then you can see that it's more likely we'll experience an economic recession in the near future. So like anything, there's definitely pros and cons with decisions like this. There's going to be a lot of families that will immediately feel short-term relief with the student loan amount going down. However, long-term, there will be more consequences felt with it being harder to fight inflation, and as a whole, that can hurt the economy and the markets as well. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video about student loan debt forgiveness, and if you gained some value from today's video, do me a favor and smash that like button, and if you haven't already done so, definitely subscribe and hit that notification bell to watch more content like this. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think it was the right thing to do to cancel this much? Should we have canceled more? Should we have not canceled at all? Let me know in the comments below. Finally, follow me on TikTok and Instagram at The Out of State Investor, and if you enjoyed today's video, I'm going to recommend you watch one of these other two videos right over here. And with that said, I'll see you guys on the next one.